Jagjot Singh. Many of you know him already and deserves no introduction. So I'm going to hand the mic to him and ask him to conduct the second session. Sardar Jagjot Singh.
Welcome you to the second session of the conference. We have two speakers in this session, again, outstanding speakers. And with me on my right is Dr. Inderjit Kaur. She has been a Bay Area resident for many years. I do count Santa Cruz as the Bay Area. And she will be starting a talk on a topic where I think the best way to introduce her is that she is truly steeped in Gurbani. ਘੱਟ ਬੰਦੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਗ ਰਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ. So I'm very fortunate to say that Dr. Inderjit Kaur is one of those people. Of course, she has a PhD, and of course, she's done a master's, and of course, she continues to pursue further studies. She's a research associate at UC Berkeley in the topic of Gurmat Sangeet. She's also been very fortunate to have worked with Bhai Avtar Singh to have translated some of the old compositions in the original rags into English. So she is quite accomplished, if I may say so. She will never agree with that because she's such a humble person. So she's going to be up next. And if you look at your programs, she's going to talk to us about Nanak, jeevteyaa, mar rahiye, aisa jog kamaiye. Nanak, jeevteyaa, mar rahiye, aisa jog kamaiye. Raho di tukh hegi ji edi apni galli jog na hoye. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Inderjit Kaur.
Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you, Chair Jagjot Singh, for that kind introduction. Thank you, Indermohan Singh Ji, for inviting me. Thank you to all the Sevadars of Gurdwara Sahib San Jose and Chardi Kala Foundation for all the work you have put in to make this possible. What could be a better way to celebrate and partake of the joy of the Gaddi Divas of Sri Guru Granth Sahib than to be here contemplating on the message and thinking about how to apply it in our daily lives. So I'm really, really very delighted, very honored, very, very humbled to be here, and thank you to all of you for making this community happen today. My talk is Nanak, jeevteyaa mar rahiye, to die while living every moment. And following the theme of the conference itself, I'm going to present my talk in two sections. First, what is the message, how to explore, understand that message, and second, how to apply it in our lives. The line that is the part of the title of my talk is from this Shabad. And because I wanted the whole Shabad here just to see the structure of the Shabad, I'm sorry the translation is not there right now, but in the later slides it will be there. This Shabad is in Rag Suhi, Mahla Pehla by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and it is about jog. So I have color-coded, a little bit some of the text. So right there in the Rahautuk we see Galli jog na hoi. And this whole Shabad is about jog, about union. And, sorry? Little louder, can you make me a little louder? The Shabad is Galli jog na hoi, ek drisht kar samsar jane, jogi kahiye soi. So it is about jog, about union, and how to become a jogi, how to become a seeker of jog, because it's very hard to say I've become merged, I've achieved union. So prefer to kind of say a seeker of that situation. Now the structure of the Shabad is very interesting because it tells us how you will not achieve jog, how you will achieve jog, and what is the attribute of that jog. Okay? So every verse ends with jog jugat ime paye, how to get it. So how not to get it if you're in rituals? No. But how to get it? Anjan mahe niranjan rahiye. Okay? And the later slide will have translations too. And then the last verse is very interesting because in addition to how to get jog, it also tells you what is the attribute of the jog. And that attribute is Nanak, jeevteyaa, mar rahiye, aisa jog kamai. That is the kind of jog. So very, very beautiful Shabad. Its structure is really very marvelous. And I actually love Bhai Harjinder Singh's rendition of it. That's how I thought of this title. I was listening to the Shabad quite a lot. I see some smiles of recognition there. All right. Okay, so here is the one with translation. Galli jog na hoi. Now you see two colors in the translation. The grayed out one is the standard one. I've taken this from the Gurbani Researcher CD, and again thanks to IGS and Gurjot Singh for putting that out. And whenever I work on, sing a Shabad or think about a Shabad, and I look at the translation, that's my starting point to start understanding it. But I always feel that I need to change that translation somehow. And so in the blue is what I sort of tend towards. And this is a long-term project, a kind of process where I hope one day that I will have some form of translation that maybe I can share with the Sangats. But right now it's sort of like an ongoing project. So, Galli jog na hoi, through mere talk, union cannot be attained. Ek drisht kar samsar jane, jogi kahiye soi. Now here, it's very important for me to recognize two things that I hear in this line. Because very often I feel that we translate Gurbani in ways that it just becomes a cliche, everybody is equal, we love everybody, we don't hate anybody, nobody is a stranger. And it kind of is something that does not translate into real meaning and to real action. And so here, I want to say, the true seeker is one who recognizes the one equally in all. And I'm putting forth a principle of non-discrimination. Does not discriminate based on caste, class, race, gender, and sexual orientation. So it's Gurmastik Singh was talking about being open-minded and accepting, and this is right here. And also, this part is very important to me because non-discriminatory does not mean lacking in discernment. And that is very important because all actions are not the same. An unethical action is an unethical action, And somebody who is engaged in an unethical action is not doing the same thing, is not, equal to somebody who is engaged, in the opposite. So I feel this discernment is very important. And if we also understand all through the same one viewpoint. It's not that the truthfulness expected of a rich person is different from that who has less means. It does not mean that, we've seen that in the financial crisis, people with a lot of wealth got away with a lot. So discernment is very important to me. And the reason it is important is that I think Sikhi is not just about individually carving out an ethical life. It is about collectively carving out an ethical society, a just and a fair egalitarian society. And if we do not focus on this issue of discernment, we risk losing that role of Gurbani. Because Guru Nanak spoke against the hegemony of Brahminical practices of the Mughal oppression. All our Guru Sahibs were action-oriented. They were action-oriented towards justice for all and for an egalitarian society. So this is a very important point that I want to share. Now then I come to the last verse, which is has the phrase for the title of my talk. Nanak jeevteyaa mar rahiye, aisa jog kamaye. So to be dying while living, that is the state of union to seek. Sorry, the angle I can't read. Yeah, I'm kind of in a setup which is, a little awkward for me. Vaje bajo sinji vaje, to nirbhav pad paye. to reach that state where the unsounded sounds. Sounds meaning it becomes sound. We understand it. It's not really about something. In the previous one, it says when the horn is blown without being blown is sort of metaphorical. It is the message that is sounding within us. It has become sound within us, so we can practice it. Then you shall attain the state of fearless dignity. Anjan mahe niranjan rahiye, jog jugat taun paiye. To remain unblemished in the midst of the filth of the world, that is the way to attain union. So, this simultaneous living and dying, this is an attribute of the state of union. What is this living? And what is this dying? And how does it become simultaneous? That is the focus of my talk. In Ragmaru, Guru Arjan tells us, Jeevana safal jeevan sun, har jap jap sad jeevana. Fruitful is the life of one who hears about the Lord and chants and meditates on him. He lives forever. So here, this is the living. Pivana jit man aagave, naam amrit ras pivana. The real drink is that which satisfies the mind. Now, I've grayed out the mind because I really think that man does not translate to mind. And, man is a very composite concept. Maybe heart, mind, soul, spirit, the sense of self, they are all in there. So I think to understand man is to go beyond just the mind. However, I don't have a word. I think the best thing to do is to use just the word man and to think of all those attributes or aspects of it. Khavana jit bhook na lage, santok sada triptivna, pernana rakh pat parmesar, phir nage nahi thivna. So I've highlighted man because where I'm going with this is that really the living is with respect to the man. What happens to the man, how to drink, how to eat, how to wear clothes. And so this is not about the physical body, it's not about the material world, but it is about man. Bogna man made harras, sangat mein livna, bin tage bin sui ani, man har pagti sang sivna. Again about man. So jivana is about man, how to make the man live. Matya har ras mein rate, tis bor na kabhu aw thivna, milyo tis sarab nidhana, prab kripal jis divna, sukh nanak santan ki seva, charan sant toy pivna. So this is how to live, is what Gurbani is telling us, with a focus on man. Now, man is Jyot Swarup. So jivana is to nurture that Jyot Swarup man. And that is how each one of us is equal. We all are. We all have that Jyot Swarup man. Whatever our economic class, whatever our caste, color, whatever our gender, sexual orientation, we all have the Jyot Swarup man. And so jivana is to nurture that part of our man. And then what about dying? What is the dying while living? So living, I've defined through Gurbani as nurturing the Jyot Swarup man. What is dying while living? Shabad maro phir jeevo sadhi. To die in the Shabad is to always live. Ta phir maran na hui. And then you will not be forever in that cycle of life and death. And I don't want to go too much into this because I think there is a talk on Mukti, and I want to leave space for that, but I'm just hinting that, these 2-3 talks really link up with each other very well. The later one also about the battle within. Amrit naam sada man meetha, sabde paave koi. So, Shabad maro, and again, something about the man. What about the man? Shabad mare, मन मारे अपना मुक्ति शब्द मरे मन मारे अपना मुक्ति का दर पावण्या. Okay? Mukti, liberation, union, pavanya, to attain. So it goes back to the Rahav line of Galli Jog Na Hoi. It's about Jog. So to die in the Shabad is to man mare, man nu marna. Now we just talked about man nu nurture karna. We are now talking about man nu marna. What is that? Kilve kaate kurodh nivare, gur ka Shabad rakhe ur tare, सच रते सच्चा बैरागी हौ में मार मिलावण्या. So the man which has home, that is the man that needs to be suppressed, that needs to be man mare. So there is a man that has to live, there is a man that has to die simultaneously. So the message in Gurbani is dying while living is with respect to the man. We overcome the home man and we nurture the Jyot Sarup man. And there is a simultaneity in it. Right? We can have these two together, right? Not only that, they mutually reinforce each other. The more we overcome the home man, the more the Jyot Sarup man will be blossoming, right? And this process of mutual reinforcement is that journey towards mukti, that journey towards jog. So the convergence is that union. So it's a beautiful model, very, very nicely to my mind tied together. I think our Guru Sahibs were great modelers, you know. So to die while living, rather than referring to the physical body, rather than referring to the sukh dukh of the physical body, it refers to our man, our Jyot Sarup man that has to be blossomed, and the home man that has to be overcome. So that was my sort of interpretation of the message of Gurbani. And now I want to talk about applying the message. Overcoming the home man is essentially our model of becoming free from Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar. And we've heard about this, and you know, it is something we understand. And nurturing the Jyot Sarup man is by practicing divine attributes. Jyot Sarup, then it can be Jyot Sarup, like the Jyot, like the divine, if we practice those divine attributes. And I've listed just 3 here, but Gurbani is, replete with them. How? But in everyday small actions, not to wait for that big opportunity. Every day, the way we talk to the person who comes to clean our home, the way we talk to somebody who we think is not important, the way we stand up for somebody in our school who's not been treated well, whether they are sick or whether they are not sick. In everyday small actions. The way I like to try is, I like to keep this with myself all the time. Guru mere sang sada hai nale. And so every time I tell myself, okay, Guru is with you, what would you do if the Guru is right here, standing, seeing, watching you, guiding you, helping you, supporting you? Can you take that more courageous action? And it's not easy. There are so many times during our jobs, dealing with people, that we fall short of it. But I feel that by remembering the Guru as my constant companion, somebody's within me, about me, around me, enveloping me, hugging me, supporting me, it just helps a lot. It's about courage. I think we are driven by fear in everything. What will somebody else say? Oh, I won't get a raise if I don't do that. We are constantly driven by fear, and it's courage that helps us overcome in the smallest of the things and in the largest of the things. So that is how I feel that the message of the Gurbani can be applied. And again, by preaching, Galli Jog Na Hoi. We have to just practice it. We have to just let people see. Our kids, they see what we do. We can preach whatever. They know what we are doing, what we are thinking. And often they can see how double-faced we are, So we just have to do it, We have to have the courage, and that's how our kids will do it. And that's how walking around, people will say, that's a Sikh. That's how we'll take Guru Granth Sahib around. When people say, my God, yeah, that's a Sikh, that's what you expect of them. They're going to take this courageous action. They're going to be righteous. They're going to be truthful. They're going to be just, fair. They're going to be supporting, helpful. Now, rather than elaborating on that more, because we have heard that a lot, I want to focus a little bit on the verbs, on the process. And here in the lines, Nanak jeevteyaa mar rahiye, aisa jog kamaiye. Right? We have to keep doing it. We can't just say, I was good, now I'm there. We have to keep doing it continuously. We have to make it a habit. Just like, you pass the stop sign and you wonder, did I stop at that stop sign? And you did, because it's a habit. You don't even notice. And that's how we have to be with our Home Man and with our Jyot Swarup Man. Kamaiye, we have to earn it. We have to work hard. It's a common saying that, in your marriage, which is the worldly marriage, it's like a job. You have to work on it every day, and then you'll have a happy married life. Well, this union is no less. It's even harder work. And so it is work daily and every moment. Now, I want to wrap up with this theme of decolonizing man, decolonizing humanity. And just the metaphor of decolonizing came to my mind when I was preparing this presentation. And I think the reason is that in the world today now, there is so much power play. And all the time, nations have been colonized, and we know the experience of colonization. But we do it every day. Parents colonize their children. Husbands colonize wives, or wives colonize husbands. It's power play. It's just such a human nature to be engaged in power play. And I think that's why humanity suffers. We suffer at an individual level, and we suffer at a larger level because we are caught up in that home. We are caught up in that power play. So to let that Jyot Swarup Man blossom and to overcome the home man, I think that we have to think about decolonizing. Every time that I talk to someone, I should work very hard to create a vibe of equality. And I've seen that so hard. Sometimes it's hard because when I do it, the other person becomes rather uppity. And then I feel all, so disheartened because I tried so hard to have a relationship of equality, but the other person couldn't come across. And those are the times that you have to, just strengthen yourself with Gurbani and say, well, no, I have to keep doing this. So in our daily, we don't talk down to the children. Children are often so much wiser than us. They have not been corrupted by all the worldly concerns. They have such wonderful things to teach us, but we always talk down to our children. I think that if we could have relationships, create spaces of equality with people all around us, whoever they are, I think that then humanity would blossom. I think humanity has been colonized today. And it has been colonized because of home, because of that power play, because we are just so focused on ourselves. So with that, I just want to reiterate that the message is not of discrimination, but it is a message of discernment. And discernment with respect to what we are doing and also with what others are doing. I think we can have the courage to say, hey, that wasn't okay. To say it nicely. But to say, my friend, you didn't quite do that okay. Because how else will we learn if we just pat each other on the shoulders and say, hey, we are all so beautiful, we are all God's children, and we are all equal. How will we develop a just society? So I think that discernment is an extremely important message of Gurbani. And then finally, yes, not just at an individual level, it is fine to get up, do part, not be, to be a good Sikh in all those ways, but it is also very, very important on a daily level to work towards a society which is like that. at a social level, at the broader level. And I think that is the way to understand Gurbani and to apply it in our lives. So with that, I'll wrap up. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
A number of questions for you. So I'm going to share the mic back and forth. The first one is, could you please explain Home at a deeper level in English?
This is a very deep question. And I actually think that we need a full conference on Man and Home to understand the different ways. Home is I am, right? That translates into ego. So Ho is am, and Me is I, right? Home. And it is a very tricky concept because, well, after all, I have to have a sense of myself, right? I have to have an identity. There is something that I think of as being me, right? And at the same time, that sense of being me can get into a space where I am always separating myself with the other. It is this concept of I and the other which is the problem. And that is where Gurbani says, that we should not get into a situation where we are thinking about the duja or dubidha. And that's why we are equal, because we all have the Jyot Swarup Man. The minute we start to do teri meri, right? Meri teri karte janam gayo. I think that's another beautiful shabad. So this, and why is this? So while recognizing myself as an entity, I also do not separate myself from the other. What does that mean? Again, it's this concept of dying, and these are these opposites that have to be together in Gurbani, which is a deep message. Othering is a problem because it leads to discrimination, because it leads to treating the other not well. And so I think that while Home is translated as ego, I think it also has connotations of this separation and not seeing the Man as part of that Jyot Swarup Man, as part of that bigger Jyot. And so I think that at the level of just a question answer, that is where I leave it, to go beyond ego, to overcome this difference between I and the other.
Actually, if I could ask a follow-on question, just push a little bit. If I see myself as part of a larger Jyot, could you elaborate on that? And how would that get rid of my Home?
What's your name again? Jagjot. So, that's a very important part of it, to see oneself as part of a larger Jyot. I might even say to see oneself, and today actually I feel like being action-oriented, okay? So, and that's why, I wanted to talk about the verbs, not passive, because there was a, translation, remain dead. I don't want to be passive. Today I want to be action-oriented. To see yourself as part of a bigger Jyot is to see yourself as part of a bigger project. And what is that project? What was Guru Sahib's project? What is Vaheguru's project? And when I think of it, for me, it is that this world should be a just, fair, egalitarian world to live in. It is about this world. It is about this life. It's about our community, the larger community, So to be part of a bigger Jyot for me is to be part of a bigger project of making humanity shine, of making this world a better place to live for everyone, whether it's the African suffering from Ebola, whether it's Michael Brown being shot down in Ferguson. I wish we had some turbans for Michael Brown there, but I couldn't go, so I couldn't lift a finger on anyone else either. But that is for me, to be part of a bigger Jyot.
Thank you. Another question. Could you elaborate on what does dying in Shabad mean? This question came a little earlier. I know you talked about it, but it'll be good to hear your thoughts again. What does dying in Shabad mean?
So we can think of dying as destroying something, removing something, and that's what I talked about, home, removing that, removing kam, krodh, lobh, moh, ankar. We can also think of dying as merging. So Shabad Maro, we can think of becoming subordinate to the Shabad or becoming one with the Shabad. And again, Shabad is Naam, Shabad is the Jyot. It is the form of the Jyot that is in words. But Gurbani also talks about Anhad Shabad. So the emphasis is not, the emphasis is on concepts. And those concepts are, again, the concepts, ethical concepts. It's all about the ethics in my mind.
Thank you. The next question is pretty direct. When you talk about the mind or man, are you referring to conscious and unconscious?
Absolutely. And that's, it's often in the subconscious that many good things happen. And, I want to relate this to the concept of Sahaj, which is a very important concept in Gurbani. And I like to think about how Gurbani and our Guru Sahibs were so action-oriented. And there are a lot of even fighting metaphors in Gurbani, But there is also this aesthetic of Sahaj, to achieve things with Sahaj, with equipoise, with balance, holy, and to do it in a way that it just becomes second nature. And when it becomes second nature, hey, it's not conscious anymore. But often to get there, we have to go through the stepping stones of conscious engagement. And that is the whole, how do musicians, sing or play so beautifully? They're not thinking about what they're doing. It has become a habit. Many of you are very good at doing something or the other. And at those moments, you are doing it unconsciously, right? And so, in fact, that is the key, is to move from... So vichar, vichar is a very important concept. We have to engage in vichar, but after engaging in vichar, it has to become practice, and it has to become a habit. So yes, very much. And please do not use mind for man. It is just man.
A little different question. How would you recommend taking the message that you just gave to our youth, to the kids in gurdwaras especially, given that most of the vichar is done in Punjabi Gurmukhi? How would you recommend to get the message across?
Well, as far as the language is concerned, I think I would propose a bilingual model so that we keep Punjabi also. And kids, even though they may not be able to speak, they can understand often, So I actually am a proponent of the bilingual model. And maybe I'll say just a little bit more about that before I go on to answering the exact question. There is a lot of research on the issue of recontextualizing a tradition, whether it's a religious tradition or any tradition. And in fact, we saw from Gurmustak Singh's talk how Sikhi is spreading all over. So it is going beyond its traditional context to many places. But social scientists also talk about the issue of decontextualization. And so in the process of recontextualization, often there can be decontextualization. And one has to be very careful of that. And that happens when, contextualization is the context, So if I grew up listening to my Dadaji or my Nani and Nana telling me stories about Guru Sahibs, and you're very little, and they tell you all these sakhis, marvelous sakhis in their nice dramatic way, and it does something. it puts the love of Guru inside you, you know. And we have to maintain that in order to maintain the historical context. If we lose the historical context of Sikhi, then its meaning will start to, I might use the word change to be slightly, soft, or I might use the word erode to be slightly harsh. And I don't want to be, I want to be somewhere in the middle. So the thing is that the context is important, and we have to keep the context alive. That's why all these things that happen at the Gurdwara in Punjabi, all the enactments of history, all the Tadiwar, all the Hula Mahalla and the Vaisakhi and all are very, very, very important. We cannot continue a tradition if we decontextualize it from history. And therefore, because the history is tied up with the language of Punjabi, I feel it is very, very important. So bilingual is one that I will push, and I will reach out to whoever it is, whether from wherever. Please, as you try to reach the Guru, also navigate the issue of the language and culture and history. Now, what exactly do we do in the Gurdwaras, right? I think, first of all, and I don't mean to be judgmental, I think we need to practice things a little differently. I mean, so many times so many places that we are, including the Gurdwara, we are doing things that our children can see are not Sikh-like. We get into power play, we call it pragmatism, which is fine. We have to be pragmatic if we have to achieve certain things. But if we become very achievement-oriented and we are always compromising on the ethics, that's our children, the kids in Khalsa school, the kids who come for competitions, they see it. We have to, in small ways, show them that we are not about the product, but about the process. Sikhi is about the process. And that is the way to teach children, because children see through us.
Thank you. Bringing it back to the talk, and I think this is going to be the last question. You had mentioned that to nurture the Jyot Sarupman, one needs to do Sat, Nirbhav, and Nirvair. And it's my question. Can you give me specific examples, one each?
From my life, from someone's life, or just made up? Well, Sat is truth, and truth is such a difficult thing. Right now, in fact, and I kind of bring the academy in here because I am part of the academy, and these things are being thought through. And it used to be that there was this notion of one truth, which we do have in a particular translation of Gurbani. But more and more people are sort of questioning what is the truth or what is a truth, and how many variants of truth there are, So we talk about, and so I'm not going at a sort of a stark example of, okay, I lied and I have to be truthful. I'm trying to kind of parse this notion of truthfulness at a more sort of, at a deeper level. And yes, we know Satnam, Nam is the truth. But what does it actually mean in our lives? And does it mean the same to each person? I think it's best for me to just speak from my own personal point of view. I think that our understanding of what the truth is really depends upon how much vichar we do of Gurbani, how much Nam Jap, and how much we practice it. And then we see that, oh, yesterday what I thought so much was the truth. Today it's not the truth, because it opens up a wider notion of what is ethics, what is the truth. So I really don't want to answer it like, okay, I made this lie, but really to think of truth as something that makes us understand how we relate ourselves to each other and how we treat each other. So that is my answer for truth. Nirbhav, I think I talked about it. I think we are forever gripped by fear. Every action, I think we are gripped by fear. And there is a social scientist by the name of Goffman who put forth a theory that in our everyday action, what we do is to try and do impression management. So from the moment we get up, we dress in a way that we would impress wherever we are going. All our actions are geared towards impression management, impression, of whatever is our goal. And I think that we need to, as Sikhs, change that. I think, and that requires us to be nirbhav, without fear. Without fear of what will be the consequence if I follow the ethical path in every little small thing. Nirvair, this is where I think the discernment is the issue. Because I think it's a cliche to say, oh, well, nobody is my enemy. And of course, yes, nobody is my enemy. But I think that I would not like to say that I will think of every action, whether it is ethical or not, as equal. So nirvair means that I am not an enemy of a person. I see that Jyot Swarup Man and all, but I am discerning. So I've tried, rather than literal translations or translations, to go into the thorny issues, the tricky parts of it. So nirvair, yeah, honestly, when I look across people, in my experiences of people, their behavior matters. It's not like I have vair with them, but it matters what they do, what I see them doing. And it matters to me what I do every day. It's towards myself too that I have to feel that. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Inderjit ji. Dr. Inderjit Kaur.